Let's give you a pathway to win in Los Angeles against the Chargers by using some big names and some smaller ones. I'll tell you what I'm talking about in just a second here on Locked On Jags.
You are Locked On Jags, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you all for joining me, Tony Wiggins, your host of Locked On Jaguars, for another edition of Locked On Jaguars, where it's your team every day. We thank you for making us your first listen. Reminding you that we're free on all platforms. Wherever you get podcasts, we are free. Make sure you like and subscribe on the YouTube page as well. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/locked on NFL. It's our daily sponsor. Make sure you tap in. I want to talk to you about the keys to this week's game in LA against the Chargers. Hopefully I don't say San Diego. You heard me? Hopefully I don't say San Diego. But if I do, I'm not going to edit this. I'm just going to correct myself. So we just got to understand that I'm not quite there yet. I'm a little bit better than I used to be calling them the Chargers. But the Jacksonville Jaguars have a formidable opponent this week from a talent perspective, as we discussed yesterday, that there might not be any advantages that they might have from a personnel standpoint. But guys got to get up and put their pants on just like they do. So the Jaguars are going to have to say, you know what? The heck with that. We're going to bring our A game. Like, we might not have a clear advantage, but if they do have an advantage, none of them are clear enough that we don't show up and go out there and try to play well. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to give you 3 key areas, not just key areas. I'm going to name people, folks that have to play well, folks that have to play above the X's and O's, beyond your wildest imagination and expectation. Or maybe is it a sense of they just have to play like we should be expecting them to play, because in the case of one or two of these guys, they have done that so far this year with the little dose that we've had. So I'm going to mention the obvious people. Okay, we'll get it out of the way right now. Trevor Lawrence has to play well. They need another big game from James Robinson and Christian Kirk. And the defensive ends of the Jaguars have to do what they can with their twist game and all of that stuff and the stunts and get to Justin Herbert quickly. In fact, that's easy. That's the easy scouting, right? So we're going to get a little bit in depth to it. I'm going to talk about the defense and 2 or 3 members of the defense with a particular thing that they have to do. In segment 2, we're going to talk about the offense. A stellar offensive game by one person can help the team in a different way that will allow them to negate somebody else. Segment 3, Doug Peterson. Again, I'm going to give you a blueprint to how I believe that they can beat the Chargers. So let's not bury the lead. Let's get right to it. The first part of this on defense is, in order for your team to get to the game plan, they have to do what they did last week, which is win early. And that means hopefully you score early, but hopefully what happens is they win early on first down. Okay, we talked about that. It's going to be a broken record for me because I think that is critical for this team with the way that they're constructed, that they get ahead on first down, okay? So you get ahead on first down, that means stopping the run. And that also means when the Chargers try to use the short passing game as their running game and their play action game, somebody has to not bite. You know who that is? Foye Oluwakande. I said Foye Oluwakande. Foye Oluwakan, what am I talking about? And Foto Fatukasi, the 2 dudes they got in free agency, are different on different levels. I think Fatukasi has shown the ability to two-gap and be very quick and get to the quarterback, right? I also believe that Foye Oluwakan has flowed to the ball well in the run game, but he's also had the discipline to stay in the intermediate area, especially last week, and make sure tackles. So we're looking at those 2 guys in particular. Why? It's because Justin Herbert's banged up. You don't have to worry about him scrambling as much as you probably would have had he not had the cartilage injury to his ribs. He's going to be there. He's going to be in the pocket. He's going to be standing right there with the play action, and the best way to get to him is up the middle. When those guys are coming around and outside, the best way to get to him is to pressure him up the middle so that he does not have the room to step forward. And if he doesn't have the room to step forward, that means that he's going to be in the pass rushing lanes when those guys come around the corner, me and Javon Walker, Arden Key, as well as Trayvon Walker, Arden Key, as well as Josh Allen, who had a career game last year. So the guys in the middle, even though they might not make the plays, they might be what contributes to the plays being made by getting pressure up the middle to a guy that's not going to be able to run very much. The other one, Foye Oluokun, what I mean by Foye Oluokun, and I'm also going to tap into Rayshawn Jenkins as well as Devin Lloyd. You got to keep Austin Eckler under control. And that tight end, was it Higbee? You got to keep those dudes under control, man. You can't let them get loose. You can't let them get those quick passes into the flat and get those 6-7 yards early. You cannot allow Eckler to eat you up in the passing game and be a dump-off guy all day. And he's also a slashing runner. I think they ought to go out of their way instead of just playing everything straight up. They ought to take away one thing from the quarterback, and that's the tight end and the running back as an outlet. They're just going to have to guard the guys on the outside and hope that if Keenan Allen plays, him and Mike Williams, when those guys go to try and get 10, 12 yards down the field, that the pass rush can get there. But you can't get in a situation where you sit here and allow him to have the whole table, like a buffet, a smorgasbord. You have to go into this game, I believe, and be targeted about stopping one aspect and hope that you can just play the other one up and maybe he loses patience and turns the ball over. I look back at the Ravens and the New England Patriots game last year when he struggled in 2 straight weeks, and that's sort of what they did. They got him off of his square a little bit. They took certain things away from him and made him be a one-trick pony. And I think by doing that, by him being a little bit unhealthy too, if you could start to get some hits on him early, maybe you'll see his efficiency drop, and he won't be able to get away. Justin Herbert won't be able to get away and do a lot of the things that he wants to do and he's used to doing. I'm going to tell you a key player on offense, and then I'll throw in a sub player. And we're not just mentioning the big guys, because the little guys, not really the little guys, but the role players on this team have to play a tremendous role if the Jaguars are going to win this game. So I'm trying to come up with a blueprint for them to win, and I'll do that in segment 2 here on Locked On Jaguars after I tell you guys about our friends at LinkedIn Talent Solutions. As you gear up for fall, you need the right people on your team to help your small business fire on all cylinders. LinkedIn Jobs is here to make it easier to find people you want to talk to, and faster for free. I've owned 2 barbershops. Right now, there are guys opening barbershops all over the place, and they are advertising on social media and everywhere else that they need barbers. They need barbers. One place you can get them is LinkedIn. You got to create a free profile and a job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond to the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. Now, all of those aren't barbers, but I guarantee if you own a small business like that, you can make some connections. All you got to do after you do that is add the purple #hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring, so your network can help you find the right people to hire. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience. LinkedIn Jobs help you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Did you know that every week nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. We thank you for applying pressure and joining us every single day here on Locked On Jaguars as we preview whether or not the Jaguars are going to be able to do what's necessary to go out to Los Angeles and get their second win in a row. Now, let me tell you how big this is. You beat the Colts, who were a plus team last year in terms of win and loss record. If you're able to do that after a game against Washington, who they didn't look bad last week, even though they lost to Detroit. But if you're able to do that, here's what's going to happen. People are going to start looking at you in a credible way instead of the jokingly trolling way the Jaguars are putting up now, and everybody's putting up that we lead the division and we're the only team in the division that has a victory. Well, you know what? You beat the Chargers, you're still going to have those people that think, well, the Chargers must not be any good, because that's what haters do, right? They don't give you credit for anything. So what they do is they attempt to minimize everything that you do that they thought you couldn't do. Well, you beat the Chargers and then you have a little momentum and you go up and manhandle Philly. And I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but at some point, then people will start to believe. And I think this young Jaguars team does believe in themselves. I don't think they're the type of team that's going to be worried about getting moral victories and just playing tough and showing. It's other people, and I might do it a little bit, but that's our place to try to look at the team and say, hey, man, we at least got something here and we're on to something. That's a good macro approach to this, but I guarantee you those kids want to win this game, and they're going to be upset if they don't, especially if they play really, really well. So how can they get there? Who's some key players besides the big players on offense that can help them do it? All right, I'll tell you one right now. Somebody who's been one of their best players all year, and that is Juwan Taylor. Here's why Juwan Taylor is so important this week, because Juwan Taylor is going to be lined up either in front of Khalil Mack or Joey Bosa for most of the time. Juwan Taylor might be also the first guy to make contact with Derwin James when he decides to blitz off of the corner. Those are three heavy hitters. But this is where a guy who has looked like an all-pro for 2 weeks can really, really show that it's not by accident that he's looked that way. If Juwan Taylor plays well on one side, where whoever lines up in front of him, that guy is used to beating one-on-ones. If Juwan Taylor says not today, not now, and ain't, and he stops them, that will allow Cam Robinson, Chris Manhertz, if he chips, to help on the other side. And I know you're saying, wait a minute, Cam's the one got all the money and Josh. Well, so far this year, Cam hasn't played terrible, but Josh, listen, Cam hasn't played terrible. He had a one good game and then one okay game. Juwan Taylor has been lights out. So if you think Juwan Taylor playing at his best can stop one of those guys for most of the game and negate them for most of the game, use Chris Manhertz to help chip and give Cam a little bit of help on the other side. That's the side that struggled more, even though it hasn't necessarily been on Cam. It's been a lot of Ben Bartch combined with Luke Fortner. Fortify the right side. Use a little bit of max protect sometimes. Use that extra blocker. Always lined up in 12 personnel so that you at least have another blocker in the game. Chip him. Bang up on him. Make him tired. And the Jaguars can really control the ball. Those guys are going to have to come out for a while. You know, Khalil Mack is not a spring chicken, right? Juwan Taylor, I believe, is the key for the Jaguars. If he can handle one-on-ones, take your best guy. Last week, whoever the offensive lineman was that was sitting there blocking Trayvon Walker, for the most part, he did a pretty good job with the exception of a couple of pressures that Trayvon got. When you play against a great player, sometimes you have to just go out there by yourself and earn your money. If Juwan Taylor can do that and continue the way he played the first 2 weeks, then the Jaguars can help on the other side and give Trevor Lawrence the time he needs in order to challenge and throw the ball down the field. I'm going to mention somebody else I didn't mention defensively, like Rayshawn Jenkins. I think I mentioned him a little bit. You got to tackle. You got to tackle, and you got to go sideline to sideline, build and capitalize off the big game he had last week also. So those are some of the players that I think can have an opportunity to step up with the frontline players and the leaders of this football team. One more guy I'm going to mention. Well, I'm going to mention two. Jamal Agnew, it's about time we see him crack something, break something loose, shake something to change field position. A nice play from him would help right now. And the kicker. Don't start missing 50-yarders this week. Make them all. They're going to need every single point. I'm telling you, this is the blueprint now. I've mentioned the players. Now I got to mention coach. I'm going to tell you what I think Doug Peterson can do with within the framework of what it is he likes to do. A little bit more of what we saw last week, and maybe a wrinkle or two that's actually going to help this team get a victory. I'm trying to set it up, y'all. I'm trying to get you all fired up so that you know we got a shot. We got a shot in LA this week, and I'll tell you how I think they can do it in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars in segment 3. After I let you know about BetOnline.net, which is your number one source for all your pro and college football betting needs and sports info this season. If you had the Bengals like I did, whooping the Cowboys, I thought the Bengals was going to stomp a hole in Dallas with that little quarterback Dallas has. And then all of a sudden I look up and the Bengals are struggling and Dallas won the game. So I need to pay better attention. And the only place I can get that information is BetOnline, because it's my continued source for all the sporting wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. The fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports and events, including Major League Baseball, MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and the action, because BetOnline is where the game starts. And I keep telling y'all start here with me every day, making Locked On Jaguars your first listen. And we are always eternally grateful for you doing such. Like and subscribe on the YouTube page as well. Tell everybody about the YouTube page. I'm real close to being at 3,000 subs. I think we can get it in the next 2 weeks. If we work together, right? They say in that movie, you got 5 individual fingers. When you ball them all together, they strike a mighty blow. Whatever, I'm being dramatic. But yeah, that's what the Jaguars are going to have to do. They're going to have all of these elements come together and strike a mighty blow. And the person doing the swinging is going to be Doug Peterson, the head coach, who's going to be in control. He's going to be in the mastermind of all of this. I think Doug has had a calming influence on his team. He's allowed them to be confident. He's allowed them to find themselves through their identity. They showed last week that they could go from losing a game that they thought they should have won on the opener to coming out and transitioning that into maybe the best pure football game we've seen played here in an awful long time, with a lot of balance and professionalism. And it almost feels like they expected to win, right? It almost feels like they knew they had him. And I don't know if it's because Doug knows Frank Reich, and I don't know if it's because he knew he was going to be able to get away with some certain stuff, and he knows how Frank thinks, or if the Jaguars are just a better team. I think it's a combination of all of that stuff. So what does Doug have to do this week? I think he has to get the guys just to play relaxed football and not get caught up in the fact that they got some war daddies on the other side. I think he has to make them understand that they put their pants on just like you do. I think he has to make them understand, look, they're a little bit older than us, but we're built too. We got a quarterback too. We got young pass rushers too. We got guys that can play. We got running backs that can make plays. We got wide receivers that can get open. We got guys that can tackle. We're big, we're strong, and we're fast. And confident. I heard a coach say yesterday, I don't remember who it was. He said, I saw a highlight video. I think it was FSU's coach. He says, trust your work. Trust the work that you put in. And how many times have folks heard me on this podcast say, Sunday is just demonstrated performance. You earn the right to puff your chest out Tuesday through Saturday when you're practicing. That's where all the growth is. You remember when I compared it to Michael Jackson on stage and the routines? I said, you don't see all the hard work where they mess up and they screw up. All you see is the finished product when you pay for your ticket and you go see it in concert. That's just showing you what they've been doing. What they've been doing was the 15 hours a day dancing. And so the Jaguars have been lifting and they've been training and they've been studying film. They have to trust their work. Believe that when you go on the field, you worked harder than the Chargers. And that's what's going to get it. Playing as a team. I made a lot of fuss this week about the fact that, okay, individually, I don't see a lot of advantages when you go mano a mano. Football didn't play that way. Basketball, you might be able to get away with that. And sometimes it doesn't work there either. Football, it's about the team that plays the best and has the best plan, that believe in themselves, and the ones that go out and execute it on Sunday. A lot of times in football, the best team doesn't win. Well, a lot of times in football, the team with the most talented players don't win. How about I say that? Because the best team actually usually does win, because you just have to be the best team that day. Why not? Why can't the Jaguars be the best team on Sunday? Why can't the Jaguars be a team that doesn't have to worry about getting better slowly and playing for the future? That this week that they can go out with a quarterback with some bad ribs, and I don't mean he ate some bad barbecue. I mean his ribs are shifting around in there. He got stuff all loose up in there. Yeah, you think it's loose now? You wait till we drive you into that ground once or twice. And I don't mean be dirty and get a penalty, but what I mean is he's banged up. Make him wish he didn't play. I wish he would. I wish they would run Chase Daniel out of there, who's been stealing money all these years, and think they're going to beat Jacksonville. That's why I say what the Jaguars have to do is be calm, but be sure of yourself and understand that, man, bump those dudes. They put their pants on just like we do. I actually believe this team thinks they're really good. They got to be patient, but not patient to the point where they're pedestrian. Take a shot, especially on first down. Pass when they don't think you're going to pass. Take your shot. On the flight out there, I would show them every 30 minutes. I'd have something come up on the screen. You know what it'd be? It'd be Clyde's Edwards-Helaire running over Derwin James. I just randomly just pop it up there. Now, I wouldn't show Derwin James dumping that tight end all over on his neck, but I would. Every time they look up, a little bell will ring, boom, like the seatbelt. They look up and it's going to be on that screen. You're going to see little Clyde Edwards-Helaire running Derwin James over. And then I show him Justin Herbert throwing an interception because the tight end was tired. He wanted to come out of the game, and he ran a lazy route. And I'd show the dude from Kansas City running down the field, going to score a touchdown. That's what I do. Derwin got ran over by a dude that's like 5'5". I show it over and over again, just to put into their mind, you ain't got to be worried about them, man. Truck these dudes. But we're going to do it not with just bravado or popcorn muscles. We're going to do it based on our hard work and what we've done. We're not going to go out here and play this game based on our future. We're going to be present in the moment and play this game based on who we are today. If all of those players that I mentioned step up and this plan goes through, and then in the interviews you start hearing guys say they put their pants on just like us, we don't care, then you'll know that more people listen to the Locked On Jaguars podcast than just all of you. Something else you need to get into, man, is the Peacock and Williamson NFL show. Make it your second listen. Don't cheat on me. Listen to me first, then you go over there and listen to the Peacock and Williamson NFL show, because that's what I do. I do it all the time. Brian Peacock and Matt Williamson, who's a former NFL scout, they give it to you like you can't get anywhere else, man. And it's free on all platforms, wherever you get your podcast. Make sure you make that your second listen. All right, we got a crossover coming up tomorrow. Daniel Wade from Locked On Chargers will join us, and we'll go through some of the things that we think and believe are going to happen. And we'll do it the way Locked On NFL does it. We'll do a Thursday crossover that'll satisfy your taste buds and get you ready for the weekend. Until then, you guys take care of each other, and we'll see you next time here on Locked On Jaguars.